What is up guys, Andy Forrest Theme Runner here, and today I'm going through with you guys my top 5 plated shoes of 2020. So welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be diving into my plated shoe collection and ranking them from 5 all the way through to first place, giving you the reasons why. We've got some training partners and we've got some races. We're talking carbon plates, we're talking nylon plates, composite plates, and whatever buzzwords companies want to use and call these magical things that we find in our shoes. There are going to be different reasons as to why each shoe is in different places, and bear with me, I'll do my best to explain why I've ranked them in the order that I have, but I want to state right now that all of these shoes are at least an 8 out of 10 in my book. All of them are fantastic. So they're just going to be ranked based on versatility, ease of use, if they can be used at different paces, all of that sort of stuff. I'm going to be going through the reasons why, and of course telling you exactly why the number 1 has claimed the top spot. So if you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and we'll start with number 5. So in at 5th place is the New Balance FuelCell TC, my second favourite training partner shoe of 2020, close behind the Saucony Endorphin Speed. Now just very quickly before we talk about why this is in 5th place, there'll be some notable absentees on this list that a lot of you guys might have tried, and I'd love to hear in the comments below where you would rank those shoes that I'm just about to mention in this list that I'm going to give you. There's a lot of companies that aren't producing UK size 13 carbon plated shoes. Asics Metarator, the Brooks Hyperion Elite 2 and the 1. We've got any Adidas plated shoe. Sadly, I can't test any of those. So there's going to be some that you're going to be thinking, why aren't they in the list? That is the reason why. So let me know in the comments below if you have any of those ones and where you would rank them in this list. Anyway, back to the TC. So as I said, a very versatile training shoe, second favourite, closely behind the Endorphin Speed. I love this shoe, but the reason it's in 5th place is just because of its versatility, as I just mentioned. I find this thing an absolute beast when it comes to long runs, tempo workouts, and anything long distance where you can get into the right gear and just go. It sadly doesn't lend itself to the slower paces, I find, and I know a lot of you agree with me on that. Some of you disagree and some of you find you can use it at any pace. Some of you find it a little bit unstable in the heel just because of the stack height and how soft the foam is. Again, I understand that. I do kind of feel that a little bit. Not as much as some of you, but I do feel it a little bit. But that's basically the only reason it's been demoted to 5th place, is because of the versatility. It has such a niche spectrum that I use it for in my running shoe rotation, but when it gets into that rotation and it gets its chance, it absolutely seizes it with both hands. So that is number 5. And coming in at number 4 is the Hoka One Carbon X, the first of the racing shoes. The carbon plate is in this one, and I absolutely love this shoe. This shoe set me PBs in the half marathon and the 20-mile distance earlier this year, clocking a 1:17.5 and a 2:02 over the 20-mile distance. This was the first ever plated racing shoe I got my hands on. At the time I wanted the Next Percent. I couldn't get hold of them for love nor money, just like it is today. Nobody seems to be able to get their hands on them, and when they do release them, they're gone within seconds, which is an absolute joke, by the way. So I got my hands on this and I absolutely love it. The reason it's in 4th place and not higher than some of the other races that we'll talk about very shortly is just because I fell in love with it in the beginning. I love how smooth it is, how well it glides through the stride. I was running in a pack of vaporflies and this thing was silent, like a silent assassin, just gliding through. But I do find now, having tested other carbon plated racing shoes, that the propulsion that you get from this shoe is slightly less, and I believe that's down to the ProFly midsole and this kind of rubber, big thick rubber slab of outsole that you see on the bottom here. Again, there's no kind of real pattern as such, just some grooves cut in, but you can see how thick this slab of outsole, and it just adds a fair bit of weight to the shoe. So having tested others, I can see where this thing can improve, and I'm super excited to try the Rocket X at some point. I really do want to try the Rocket X, because if it's anything like this thing, line, again, I will fall in love. Apparently it's a better foam. I can't wait to see if I can get my hands on that, and fingers crossed they'll do that in the UK size 13. But that's the reason it's in number 4. If it was a little bit more responsive on the push off, I would absolutely love it. But other than that, it is, out of these 5 shoes that I'm about to talk about, the smoothest ride of them all. And coming in at number 3 is the Saucony Endorphin Pro. What a shoe this is. This thing puts a smile on my face. I absolutely love this shoe. I was so lucky to get my hands on the pre-sale of this back in May when Saucony launched it. So I've had it for quite a while now. I've put about 60, I think about 60 odd miles in this thing already. So I'm aiming to get myself up to the 100-mile mark. But so far, it's holding up really, really well. Now this would have been higher in the list. I'm going to drop a hint to what might be coming up next or the one after, but I would have put this higher. I love it for the 5K, the 10K, even the half marathon. I just felt when I tested it with the next percent that the next percent gave it the edge over the longer distance. I then did a time trial in the next percent over the half marathon distance, and fair play, the next percent did really well. The way I struggle with the next percent, and we'll talk about that because there's a hint, it is coming up in the list, is that I just find it a little bit too soft. I like a firmer racer like the Carbon X. So with the Carbon X, I love it because it's so firm. You feel the push off. It's kind of that new age racer mixed with an old school racing flat where you feel the ground and you push off a little bit. With this thing, I feel a little bit more like that. I feel more of the ground. Despite the stack height, I do feel like a more natural push off, like my toes are being used and worked, like the foam isn't taking over too much, and you get such a great propulsion from this shoe. I absolutely love it. But of course, most recently doing that 5K round Lydney Lake with Matt, I have to say that again, the next percent, what it does is it just delivers. You don't even think about it, but it just delivers paces you don't expect it to be delivering. And I feel like I run faster in this shoe mentally. I feel like I'm running faster in this thing than the next percent, but actually the next percent delivers faster paces than this thing, which is really hard to comprehend. So that's the only reason I'm bumping this down the list. I can't really run anything else in this. This is very much purely a racing shoe, but on the whole, this thing is absolutely top notch. And in at number 2 comes the next percent, as I just mentioned. Just very quickly, the Endorphin Pro in number 3 has a carbon plate, for those of you wondering. Again, exactly the same in this. So you're thinking, what's number 1 if this is number 2? So this is the final racing shoe in the lineup, and I absolutely love to hate this thing. I haven't got a bad word to say about this shoe. It's really funny because I've tested so many Nike shoes for a lot of you that have watched the channel for a while, and I hate every single, well, I don't hate, I dislike the majority of them. But Nike have hit I hate to use the phrase, they've hit a home run with this shoe. I can see why it's the best. I can see why the best use it. I can see why everyone wants to get their hands on a pair of them. I've tested it in a few occasions now. I still haven't officially raced in it yet, and I've put 60 miles in the shoe. And with how limited it is to get hold of, I have to be really careful not to put too many more miles in this thing as it is, and maybe a couple more time trials, but I really do need to save this thing for some of the upcoming races that'll be happening hopefully over the next month or 2 or 3, or whenever we get to race back normally again. So this thing, as I said, it just delivers. It just gives you paces you don't expect. The reason that I kind of dislike it is because it is so soft, and I don't like feeling like I'm really sinking into the ground. But actually, the quicker you go with your pace, the less you feel like that. So in the beginning when I did a test run, I really felt like I was sinking right into the ground with this thing, and I really struggled. I ran way quicker in the Endorphin Pro in that first part 1 of the testing between the 2 shoes. But with the 5K of just running it, I didn't feel that at all. I just felt like I went like a rocket, and the push off and the propulsion, everything in this shoe just works like magic. So I hate to say it because I hate every other shoe, but I have to give the edge in terms of racing to the next percent. You better believe it. Coming in at number 1 is the Saucony Endorphin Speed nylon plated shoe, my favorite training partner of 2020. And why does this beat all of the racing shoes? Because this thing is the real deal. This is the complete package. The reason I've put this at number 1 is versatility, is the fact that I think you could race in this shoe, and a lot of people will race in this shoe. Now let me just clarify, I would still choose the Pro to race in over the Speed. I feel totally different in the Speed to the Pro. The nylon plate in this isn't as aggressive as it is in the Pro, and I don't feel like I quite get the propulsion that I do in this thing as I do the Pro, but you can still race in it. It's so lightweight, you can train in it at any pace, or I find any pace. Some people do find it a little bit clunky at slower paces. I have to be honest with you, I've taken this thing on a few easy runs, as well as tempos, as well as hills, as well as everything. It does the whole package for me. Again, this is just opinions. Some of you will differ on opinions, but there has not been a more versatile shoe in 2020 than this shoe. And this is giving me a headache between shoe of the year for my Asics Nova Blast and the Saucony Endorphin Speed. Those two right now are neck and neck in terms of what they've delivered for me and my running this year. This thing has to go top of the list. As I said, versatility, it could be a racer, but all-round training partners. The reason this thing pipped the TC to the post was not only is it good on the longer distance, the tempo runs, everything like that, marathon training, but it can be done in other workouts. I love this thing for any speed. Anything this shoe can do. I want to really, if I can, ramp up the miles in this thing and really run it into the ground, because honestly this thing has been a revolution this year, and I know so many of you have bought the Speed. Again, it's so hard to get hold of, it's so frustrating, but if you can get a pair, I could not recommend these things highly enough. So this is my #1 plated shoe of 2020. So there we go, that's my list of top 5 plated shoes for this year. 2 training partners, 3 racing shoes in the list, and a training partner pipping the racing partner to the post because of how incredibly versatile it is and how well it fits, and just everything about that shoe. It is a 10 out of 10. Up there, as I said, with the Asics Nova Blast. But as I said, obvious no absentees there. Meta Racer, all of that stuff. Let me know in the comments below if you have them. And of course, as of this moment right now when I'm recording it, we don't have the Rocket X out and we don't have the RC Elite from New Balance. Again, if either of those come out in my shoes, you better believe we'll do our best to get our hands on a pair and test them out for you guys across all distances, all paces, all of that good stuff. But as I said, let me know in the comments below if you've tried any other plated races that you feel should be in there. Skechers is another one. Can't get hold of Skechers in this country for love nor money. So anything like that, let me know, and we'll see what your top 5 list is if you have that many plated shoes in 2020. So if you enjoyed today's video, guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.